Chapter 1271, Implicating Feng Yuan. Chapter 1271, Implicating Feng Yuan. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Boom boom boom. The silhouette of the giant horn shot around in the sky, sending out a barrage of attacks. Around old ancestor Xuehu, frost energy was oozing, turning into blue icy cold frost that swept at Edge Link Camp in layers. The two Central Continent rank 8s in Edge Link Camp were desperately gritting their teeth. The Gu immortals behind them were trying to repair the immortal Gu houses. They were covered in sweat and had panicked expressions. Meanwhile, beside old ancestor Xuehu, Purple Mountain True Monarch was covered in dazzling purple light, radiating in the entire Snowy Mountain blessed land. Central Continent's group was attacking Snowy Mountain. Purple Mountain True Monarch was tasked to defend it. This blessed land was the foundation of the fate-reversing sacrificial refinement formation. As long as they defended it, Central Continent would lose. What should we do? Bai Chen Tian had a frantic expression. If this continues, not only will we fail to save Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun, we will also lose this immortal Gu house and our own lives. Wei Lingyang was the leader of this expedition. He had a grim expression. The situation was very disadvantageous for the Central Continent Gu immortals. It could even be said they were hopeless. According to the plans of Central Continent's Gu immortals, they were split into two. One group would restrain Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace, while the other would save Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun, before they joined up and left Northern Plains together. But now, the group that went to Snowy Mountain Blessed Land was already close to defeat, and the other group was also waiting for their rescue. This was Northern Plains, not Central Continent. 3 rank 8s and 3 immortal Gu houses, along with a band of Gu immortals, were still a relatively small number of people. Of course, this was also because the Northern Plains Gu immortals were prepared. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's plan was not known to Central Continent. Central Continent struck with a powerful attack. According to the planning of this assault, there was a huge chance of success. But as the situation progressed, the targets of their sneak attack became strong foes, and with Spectral Soul Demon Venerable's arrangements, Central Continent's Gu immortals fell into this dangerous situation. Wei Lingyang's thoughts were churning rapidly. A moment later, he gritted his teeth and gave his orders, seemingly exerting his last bit of strength. We will retreat. Forget about Zhao Lianyun and Ma Hongyun. After Purple Mountain True Monarch appeared, the situation went beyond Wei Lingyang's control. If this dragged on, Central Continent would suffer even greater losses. Wei Lingyang decided to retreat back to Black Heaven, and join up with the other 2 immortal Gu houses and escape to Central Continent. Edge Link Camp was directed to leave. Old ancestor Xuehu and Purple Mountain True Monarch could not stop it together. After all, they had no immortal Gu houses. They could not stop it from charging away. However, just when Edge Link Camp was about to charge out of the Gu formation, a change occurred. The entirety of Snowy Mountain Blessed Land was rumbling intensely. A great earthquake. What is going on? The Blessed Land is collapsing. Zhao Lianyun and the others, as well as the remaining Peak Lords, were extremely shocked. Rumble. With a loud sound, the snowy peaks started to break apart. What is going on? Old ancestor Xuehu showed shock on his face. The entire formation is breaking apart. Purple Mountain True Monarch's eyes shined brightly, before he corrected himself. No. This formation. Before he finished his words, the Gu immortals present heard the sound of waves. At the next moment, giant rushing waves appeared out of nowhere, sweeping the battlefield. It was the secluded domain of heaven and earth, Reverse Flow River. Oh no, my wife. Everything happened too quickly. Old ancestor Xuehu wanted to charge back to the first peak, but he was engulfed by the river along the way. Within Reverse Flow River, no Gu worms could be activated. Old ancestor Xuehu could not defend himself. He was washed away by the rushing tides. He had the highest battle strength in this place. If this happened to him, there was no need to mention the rest. Immortal Gu House Edge Link Camp broke apart in the river. The Central Continent Gu immortals were washed along the river like falling dumplings. Zhao Lianyun and the rest, the Peak Lords of Snowy Mountain Blessed Land, Lady Wan Shou, Ing Wu Xie's group, and Ma Hongyun, were all inside Reverse Flow River. Snowy Mountain Blessed Land completely collapsed, only a framework was left as the winds of assimilation started to blow. They're coming. Far away, Black Extremity's head was bulging with veins. He manipulated the sub-formation with all his strength. He was the culprit behind Snowy Mountain's destruction. And beside him, Flood Extremity was defending him vigilantly. At the final moment, Flood Extremity had to use his water path methods to direct Reverse Flow River. What? Fang Yuan felt his vision turning bright as a huge torrent engulfed him in an instant. Once the fate-reversing sacrificial refinement formation broke, everyone and everything within the surrounding 10,000 li of Snowy Mountain Blessed Land was engulfed by Reverse Flow River. Fang Yuan was within this range, he was not spared. From the raging river water, Fang Yuan's head emerged on the surface. This is Reverse Flow River. He had a wide range of knowledge. After his shock, he realized the origin of the river that he was in. Snowy Mountain Blessed Land contains Reverse Flow River. No wonder my ancient sword dragon transformation was removed for no apparent reason. This was natural. Inside Reverse Flow River, Gu worms could not be used. Fang Yuan's ancient sword dragon transformation was an immortal killer move. It needed Immortal Gu and Mortal Gu to activate. Thus, the moment Fang Yuan was swept in, all of his Gu worms stopped working. He returned to his original form. Thankfully, I can swim. Fang Yuan moved his limbs, swimming skillfully. He looked ahead. On the surface of the raging river, there were many things floating or swimming. Large numbers of wild beasts, trees and grass, and even rocks. Reverse Flow River's waves were extremely rough. Gushes of currents caused rocks or trees to move around randomly, creating chaos in the river. Fang Yuan's heart sank. In this situation, he could not use Gu worms. His battle strength was at rock bottom. He could only rely on his own body's defense. At this time, Fang Yuan heard something that did not sound right near him. He quickly turned around. He saw that a giant metal tree was flowing along the river. The trunk was as thick as an elephant. It rushed towards him. Danger! Fang Yuan's pupils shrunk. He wanted to dodge. But in the torrential Reverse Flow River, he could not move easily. His speed was very slow. The metal tree crashed into his waist. Fang Yuan was quickly knocked into the depths of the river. Next, he rapidly moved his four limbs, before resurfacing above the river. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. He breathed raggedly, taking in fresh air as he inspected his body, checking his injuries. He was shocked when he checked it. Because he had no injuries. He only had a bruise on his waist. But soon, his bruise vanished. Fang Yuan's eyes shined. He realized, oh right. My body is not normal. I have the sovereign immortal body. Inside Reverse Flow River, Fang Yuan could not use any Gu worms. He could only rely on his own body. However, his sovereign immortal body was not normal at all. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1272, What is that? Chapter 1272, What is that? Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. After the Battle of Tian Mountain ended, Fang Yuan had tested this body's limits. He did not use any Gu worms, but he was fast like a charging horse. By just leaping gently, he could jump 10 meters of distance. Jumping down from 180 meters while pointing his head downwards, he felt a little dizzy, but it only lasted for 3 breaths of time, and was gone before he knew it. He had great strength and endurance as well. He ran for minutes without feeling any fatigue at all. His 5 senses and visual acuity were beyond amazing. His vision was outstanding. Looking 10,000 steps ahead, everything was clear to him. His heartbeat returned to normal after exercising intensely. Every time it beat, it was very strong and lively. His thinking speed was extremely fast as well. Even if it was under the light of wisdom, he could maintain it for a long time. Even Gu immortals could rarely reach this extent with only their bodies. Not just a metal tree, even if a metal hill crashed at him, Fang Yuan would be intact. This was the sovereign immortal body's own physique. it had nothing to do with Gu worms, it had to do with his Dao marks. Inside Reverse Flow River, I cannot use Gu worms, but the same goes for others. Meanwhile, my sovereign immortal body is sufficiently strong, my Dao marks are also high in quantity. Fang Yuan thought about it, his mood turned into excitement. Ing Wu Xie. He flung his limbs as he swam forward like a swordfish. The whole Reverse Flow River was running quickly, but the overall flow was affected by the formation, it flowed towards Black Extremity and Flood Extremity. Roar! A striped tiger was climbing onto a plank with its limbs. Fang Yuan swam to the tiger but it was unmoved. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan panted as he took a little rest on the plank. But this plank could not endure the weight of both the human and tiger, it started sinking. The tiger was anxious, it bore its fangs at Fang Yuan and wanted to bite him, but Fang Yuan snorted and stretched out his arm, crushing the tiger's head as he raised his fist and punched this tiger to death. Thankfully, this is not a desolate beast but an ordinary beast instead. Against a desolate beast, the sovereign immortal body was not enough. Snowy Mountain Blessed Land did not lack desolate beasts. But to refine fortune rivaling Heaven Immortal Gu, in activating the formation and defending against enemies, Snowy Mountain Blessed Land had already been modified. Gu immortals with desolate beasts had kept them in their immortal apertures, they would not allow enemies to kill the desolate beasts, that would just be stupid. Fang Yuan swam in Reverse Flow River, he wanted to find Ing Wu Xie. Snowy Mountain Blessed Land collapsed, Reverse Flow River was pouring out, Fang Yuan did not know that Purple Mountain True Monarch had awakened. He was still thinking of old ancestor Shui Hu as the main enemy. He estimated that Ing Wu Xie had some relationship with Snowy Mountain, but it was not close. Otherwise, why would old ancestor Shui Hu not help during the Battle of Tian Mountain? Fang Yuan's analysis was not wrong. But his information path methods were too lacking, he did not have enough intel. Right now, even if I meet old ancestor Shui Hu, I can survive. Because in Reverse Flow River, Gu worms cannot be used, it is a special environment. Since Ing Wu Xie has some connection with old ancestor Shui Hu, if I miss this chance, they will definitely grow rapidly under his protection. If I miss this chance, I might not have another opportunity to eliminate them again. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan moved ahead after resting shortly. But he met Bai Qintian, a Central Continent Rank 8 Gu immortal. Fang Yuan was shocked. What is going on? A Rank 8 Gu immortal who isn't old ancestor Shui Hu, and is from Central Continent? Bai Qintian was in a terrible state, he was covered in injuries as he rested on a huge turtle's back. These injuries were not from Reverse Flow River's journey, but were sustained in the battle earlier. He was a Rank 8 Gu immortal, his Dao marks conflicted and it was harder to heal from injuries once he sustained them. But in that battle, he was in a weaker position, how could he have time to heal himself? Thus, after the main formation collapsed, he was swept by Reverse Flow River and could not use his Gu worms to heal himself, all the way until now. But fortunately, while being washed away in the river, he met a floating turtle and managed to get a chance to rest on it. Fang Yuan discovered Bai Qintian also saw Fang Yuan. But Bai Qintian did not recognize Fang Yuan. Because Fang Yuan was in his sovereign immortal body's appearance. His original appearance was exposed by Heavenly Court and was spread over all 5 regions. Even though Bai Qintian did not know Fang Yuan, he frowned and became alert. Because Fang Yuan's aura showed that he was a Northern Plains Gu immortal. This was also because of the sovereign immortal body. After passing the regional wall, Fang Yuan could change his aura into that of the region he was in, he was a Gu immortal of the region and could perfectly fuse into it. Who is this? He is not one of the peak lords of Snowy Mountain Blessed Land, however, he could have been recruited by old ancestor Shui Hu secretly. Bai Qintian stood up on the turtle's shell, looking at Fang Yuan's every movement. Inside Reverse Flow River, even though Bai Qintian had Rank 8 cultivation level, his Gu worms could not be used, he had limited battle strength. Fang Yuan also looked at him alertly, he did not get close. Even though Fang Yuan had the sovereign immortal body, he would be stupid if he thought he was the strongest person in Reverse Flow River. Reverse Flow River did not allow Gu worms to be used, but his body was intact, his Dao marks were effective. Fang Yuan's sovereign immortal body was very powerful, because of the Dao marks on the immortal body. Similarly, if a Gu master used Black Boar Gu to gain the strength of a boar, he would have the strength path Dao marks carved into his body. If this Gu master falls into Reverse Flow River, and is unable to use Gu worms, he would still be able to use his body and attack with the strength of a boar. As for other Gu immortals, over the long course of their cultivation journey, how could they not use any Gu worms like Black Boar Gu to increase the number of Dao marks in their bodies? This was natural. Anyone who was not a fool would know the advantages of such Dao marks. Fang Yuan's body had its advantages, so did other Gu immortals, the extent simply varied from one person to another. For rank 8 Gu immortals, they had deep foundations. Fang Yuan did not want to fight against Bai Chen Tian at the moment. You are a Central Continent Gu immortal. I am a Northern Plains Gu immortal, but I have a grudge with old ancestor Xuehu. I saw him trying to refine the rank 8 immortal Gu. I did not want him to succeed, so I went to the outside of the blessed land and tried to find a way to break in. Are you a helper for him to refine the Gu? Fang Yuan probed. Bai Chen Tian's frown eased a little. He answered, old ancestor Xuehu is also my enemy. Not long ago, I was fighting against him in snowy mountain blessed land, but this unexpected surprise happened. My injuries are all caused by old ancestor Xuehu. The two talked and exchanged information. Fang Yuan realized now that so many things had happened in snowy mountain blessed land. But Bai Chen Tian was very vague about many things. Fang Yuan could not get much intel. They did not trust each other after all. This was natural. They only had interacted a little, it was hard to tell what the other person's intentions were. And in this situation where Gu worms could not be used, both sides were at their highest alertness. Fang Yuan knew he could not get more information from Bai Chen Tian and decided to leave. He left that huge wild turtle. Even during the conversation, he did not get closer, while Bai Chen Tian did not invite Fang Yuan to rest on the turtle's back. Bai Chen Tian saw that Fang Yuan was leaving and his expression relaxed a little. But at this moment, an unexpected surprise occurred. Ping! A soft sound echoed. A fist-sized thing was washed down by the river, landing on Fang Yuan's face. This thing was soft and tiny, like a jellyfish. It stuck to Fang Yuan's forehead. What is this? Fang Yuan was stunned. He wanted to pull it away. But at this time, he heard Bai Chen Tian call out, be gentle, don't crush it. Oh. Fang Yuan was surprised. What was it that made a rank 8 Gu immortal nervous? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know in report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1273, Affection Immortal Gu. Chapter 1273, Affection Immortal Gu. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Fang Yuan held this jellyfish-like Gu in his hand, looking at it. At the next moment, his eyes shined. This was an immortal Gu. But he did not know its rank. Because in Reverse Flow River, no Gu worm could be used. These Gu worms that fell into Reverse Flow River were like fossils, they were sealed and their auras could not be felt. This made Fang Yuan unaware of the nature of this jellyfish immortal Gu earlier, when it was on his face. Only when Bai Chen Tian reminded him did Fang Yuan realize. If this were in the outside world, without Reverse Flow River, immortal Gu aura would leak. Fang Yuan would detect it from far away, and determine what its rank was. As for what immortal Gu it was, that would depend on the Gu immortal's own knowledge. This immortal Gu seems to be, Affection Gu. Fang Yuan's knowledge was wide. After looking at it, he could guess what this Gu was. Wisdom Path had 3 elements, thoughts, wills, and emotions. Since there was love immortal Gu, there was also affection immortal Gu, of course. 1. Fong Yuan's guess was right. Bai Chen Tian could not help but feel anxious. Affection Gu was very important to Central Continent's Gu immortals. Why? Because this immortal Gu was temporarily used in Edge Link Camp, there were many mortal Gu along with it. This affection immortal Gu, along with many mortal Gu, could create a new effect in Edge Link Camp, that was to track the location of Love Gu. Even if Love Gu was in an immortal aperture, it would not be affected. That was how Edge Link Camp managed to find Snowy Mountain Blessed Land. Otherwise, inside the spaceless tunnel, when Love Gu sent Zhao Lian Yun, Yu Yi Zi, Shi Zheng Yi, Bu Zhen Zi, and Mu Ling Lan away, who would know where they went? After adding affection immortal Gu and other Gu worms, Edge Link Camp could detect love immortal Gu and traced it to Snowy Mountain Blessed Land. But afterwards, because they fought with old ancestor Xuehu and Purple Mountain True Monarch, Edge Link Camp sustained great pressure, and took much damage. Before this, due to the long journey and the collapse of the spaceless tunnel, Edge Link Camp was not complete to begin with. And now, after Flood Extremity and Black Extremity activated the Gu formation, destroying the main formation, Reverse Flow River flowed out and struck the heavily damaged Edge Link Camp. This way, the Immortal Gu house broke apart and the Immortal Gu and Mortal Gu inside were all swept away by the water. If this were the outside world, these Immortal Gu and Mortal Gu would fly towards the Gu Immortals who had their wills contained. But inside Reverse Flow River, these Gu worms were restricted by the special environment, they were forcefully sealed, hibernating like they were no longer alive. Affection Gu was one of the countless Gu worms that made up the Immortal Gu house. Or rather, it was a very lucky one. Because most of the Gu worms had flowed along the river and were destroyed by the waves, or crashed into rocks or trees. Gu worms were very fragile. Reverse Flow River became their grave. Of course, there were different types of Gu worm body types. Most were broken with one squeeze, but some were like jade or rocks, as tough as jade. Affection Gu was different, it had a soft body, it could survive even if there was an impact. Evidently, this was how it survived in Reverse Flow River. But after ending up in Fong Yuan's hands, it was not in good shape. The jellyfish body was very tattered, there was a huge injury that was about a quarter of its size, it was terrifying. Bai Chen Tian's eyes were very sharp, seeing that Fong Yuan was about to pull away this affection Gu, he called out in worry. But after reminding him, he felt great regret. If he did not say it, Fong Yuan might have thrown it away without care or concern. But now, Fong Yuan's eyes were shining, he realized the truth. Bai Chen Tian withheld the unease in his heart as he cupped his fists at Fong Yuan. Friend, this Gu belongs to Central Continent. Why don't you give this immortal Gu to me, you will gain the friendship of Central Continent. Is that alright? Fong Yuan squinted, I can consider that, but what Gu is this? You need to tell me. Bai Chen Tian answered, this is Affection Gu, a Wisdom Path Gu worm. Wisdom Path Gu immortals were rare. Bai Chen Tian emphasized that this was Affection Immortal Gu because he thought that Fong Yuan was not a Wisdom Path Gu immortal. Affection Gu was not useful to most Gu immortals after all. It was a waste to give it away, but it was a burden in one's hands. Why? Gu immortals needed wills as their assistants. Be it in sect meetings or in Treasure Yellow Heaven, any will Gu could be used widely. But mortal level will Gu could achieve this. There was no need to waste one's effort in raising an affection immortal Gu. After all, if one was not a Wisdom Path Gu immortal, with their conflicting Dao marks, using the immortal Gu of other paths would have lower effects. At the same time, just affection immortal Gu could not form any immortal killer moves. Unless it was an immortal killer move of other paths that needed affection immortal Gu, or any special methods that needed it, then the Gu immortal would desire it. Not all immortal Gu were popular with people. Gu immortals had different paths, so did immortal Gu. Gu immortals were of rank 6, 7, and 8, so were immortal Gu. For Gu immortals, only suitable immortal Gu had value to them. In the 500 years of Fang Yuan's previous life, during the Five Regions' chaotic war, Gu immortals often held trading sessions to exchange their immortal Gu. But Bai Chen Tian would not think that Fang Yuan was the most special Gu immortal of all. Firstly, he had Grandmaster Wisdom Path attainment level, such a person had to be considered a Wisdom Path Gu immortal. Secondly, Fang Yuan's sovereign immortal body did not have conflicting Dao marks, he could cultivate any path. Lastly, Fang Yuan had been fretting over this matter, even though he had Wisdom Path attainment level methods, he did not have relevant Wisdom Path immortal Gu. Thus, this affection immortal Gu was very important to Fang Yuan. Thus, he placed affection immortal Gu into the pocket of his shirt. Inside Reverse Flow River, the immortal aperture's entrance could not be opened, he had to carry it with him. Bai Chen Tian saw this and his heart sank, his tone was even more anxious. Friend, take out that immortal Gu, we are not enemies, we can go through a transaction according to what we need. Fang Yuan looked at Bai Chen Tian, we can have a transaction, but not here. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1274, Fighting Rank 8 in the River. Chapter 1274, Fighting Rank 8 in the River. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. If possible, Fang Yuan wanted to use affection immortal Gu to trade for immortal Gu that suited him more. But in Reverse Flow River, transactions were impossible. Because no Gu worms could be used, information path methods that allowed two parties to engage in transactions were unusable. Fang Yuan wanted to exchange for immortal Gu, but Bai Chen Tian could not take out any immortal Gu, because Gu worms hibernated while inside Reverse Flow River, let alone those in an immortal aperture, they would not respond to any of a Gu immortal summons even if they were inside their bodies. Thus, Bai Chen Tian did not have any chips to use for trade. Bai Chen Tian knew Fang Yuan's concern, but should he give up this chance and wait for the future? Who knew what would happen in the future? After Black Extremity's action, Snowy Mountain Blessed Land was gone, Central Continent's Edge Link Camp was destroyed as well. If Central Continent's group fought again, they would fall into an even deeper disadvantage. Central Continent's Gu immortals were barely able to defend themselves, once they escaped Reverse Flow River, wouldn't they flee immediately? Thus, there was no chance to undergo trade with Fang Yuan. If they did not do the transaction now, what about in the future? Fang Yuan was a Northern Plains Gu immortal, while Bai Chen Tian was a Central Continent Gu immortal, both were in different regions. Even in Treasure Yellow Heaven, Central Continent could not dictate Fang Yuan to do a transaction with them later. What if he made a deal with someone else? What if he raised prices to an absurd level without fear? There were worse situations possible. Bai Chen Tian was someone with the foresight to consider bad outcomes in advance, seeing that he could not coax Fang Yuan to give the immortal Gu, his killing intent rose. I am a rank 8 Gu immortal, even if I cannot use immortal Gu here, with my Dao Mark Foundation, how can I lose to a rank 7 Gu immortal? Thinking like this, Bai Chen Tian jumped into the river water and swam towards Fang Yuan. At this moment, his hostility was obvious. Fang Yuan sneered internally, as he charged towards Bai Chen Tian as well. Bai Chen Tian saw this and became joyful, thinking, this Northern Plains Gu immortal looks like a battle maniac. He's simply brainless. The river water moved rapidly, but both parties had extraordinary bodies, they quickly met in the middle. Boom boom boom. Fang Yuan raised his fist and punched at Bai Chen Tian thrice. Bai Chen Tian was a Woodpath Gu immortal, he had great stamina and eyesight, he blocked all three attacks. He was shocked, this person looks so young, how can he have such strength? Does he cultivate strength path? He felt that his arm was numb from blocking. But while he was shocked, Bai Chen Tian still retaliated with his other hand. Both sides exchanged fists, they quickly got into a scuffle. Fong Yuan's entire body was a weapon, his head, knee, elbow, and all sorts of jabs were used. Bai Chen Tian was on the back foot, but soon, he held up evenly against Fong Yuan's attacks. Because he had incredible foundation, and his close combat skills were very deep. Even though he had rarely used these techniques after becoming a Gu immortal, currently in actual battle, he was recovering his combat skills. As for Fong Yuan, he had become a Gu immortal more recently. Many years ago, he was a mortal Gu master roaming northern plains and southern border. He was familiar with close combat. The two fought in the water. At times, they lifted their heads above the water and breathed roughly, temporarily resting. Reverse Flow River moved rapidly. Most of their energy was spent in swimming. They did not actually fight too much. When they fought, the environment was very complex. Because at times, logs or wild beasts would float down the river and force the two to evade them. As a result, after tens of rounds of battle, both sides were breathing roughly, but they could do nothing to the other party. This rank 8 Gu immortal is truly deep in foundation. I wanted to kill a rank 8 in Reverse Flow River, but now it seems to be wishful thinking. Bai Chen Tian, however, was filled with shock. How can this be? This person is on par with me. I have used Grass Python Immortal Gu previously to gain a huge amount of strength. I have also used Immortal Killer Move Wood Armor to carve Dao marks in my body has naturally strong defenses. I even turned my heart into a wood heart and turned my blood into green blood, giving me super healing abilities. These Immortal Killer moves and Immortal Gu, along with my Dao marks as a rank 8 Gu immortal who has so many calamities and tribulations, I definitely outclassed this rank 7. But why am I simply evenly matched with him? Bai Chen Tian stared at Fong Yuan, as if he was looking at a monster. Speaking of which, Fong Yuan did not have as many Dao marks as the rank 8 Bai Chen Tian, but in fact, his Dao mark accumulation surpassed most rank 7 Gu immortals. Even though he only became a rank 7 Gu immortal recently. What resisted Bai Chen Tian was the Sovereign Immortal Body. The Sovereign Immortal Body was not a normal human body, it was refined from a Gu worm. Be it Wei Ling Yang or Bai Chen Tian, they were humans. But Fong Yuan's body was made from a Gu worm. It could therefore be said that Fong Yuan being a complete otherworldly demon was one of the reasons. The Sovereign Immortal Body made up for the difference in Dao marks between him and Bai Chen Tian, allowing them to fight evenly. Fong Yuan decided to retreat. Even though he did not lose, his intention was to kill the huge threat in Wuxia. Earlier, when fighting with Bai Chen Tian, he wanted to test his strength, to see if he could kill a rank 8 Gu immortal. But in fact, Fong Yuan was overly optimistic. He could do nothing to Bai Chen Tian. Fong Yuan had to give up. He did not want to stall it out with Bai Chen Tian, his objective had not been met yet. Fong Yuan wanted to leave, but Bai Chen Tian did not allow him to. Even though Bai Chen Tian could not do anything to Fong Yuan, Affection Immortal Gu was still with Fong Yuan. Even if I cannot win, I need to keep him here. If my companions come later, we can encircle him together. I cannot let him escape. Damn it, this guy. Fong Yuan quickly frowned. He wanted to retreat, but Bai Chen Tian's speed and strength were not inferior to his. Even though Fong Yuan wanted to leave, Bai Chen Tian was preventing him from doing so. This gravely affected Fong Yuan's plan. In that case, don't blame me for being ruthless. Fong Yuan's eyes flashed with cold light. Obstructed by the wild beast corpse ahead, Fong Yuan's speed fell and Bai Chen Tian reached him again. Fong Yuan turned around to fight him. Both were fighting with their fists and legs in Reverse Flow River. It was a draw. At the crucial moment, Fong Yuan stretched out his arm and placed Affection Immortal Gu in front of himself. Bai Chen Tian wanted to punch at Fong Yuan's torso. If he hit, Fong Yuan would lose his oxygen supply and would need to go to the surface and breathe in fresh air. This was one of the key points of fighting underwater. But Fong Yuan suddenly took out Affection Immortal Gu, and put it in front of Bai Chen Tian's fist. Bai Chen Tian turned pale from shock, he quickly pulled back his fist and revealed a flaw. Fang Yuan laughed coldly on the inside. He used this flaw and charged. Bai Qiantian had made a mistake and could only block and defend himself, preparing to counterattack. But Fang Yuan suddenly raised Affection Immortal Gu in front of himself, causing Bai Qiantian to be unable to attack and exposing a flaw. With two flaws exposed, Fang Yuan made use of his advantage and kicked at Bai Qiantian's stomach. Bai Qiantian was hit and immediately opened his mouth as air bubbles floated up. He did not have enough oxygen now. He changed his tactics and wanted to escape to the surface. But Fang Yuan did not allow this. He stretched out his arms and gripped with them like pincers, pulling Bai Qiantian and preventing him from reaching the surface. Bai Qiantian suddenly twisted his waist and escaped with a difficult maneuver. He moved like a fish, bursting out with strength. Fang Yuan's left arm could not catch him. Fang Yuan praised on the inside towards this response. Bai Qiantian was a Central Continent Gu immortal, but his rank 8 foundation really held no weaknesses. In terms of fighting underwater, he even slightly surpassed Fang Yuan. There was a need to mention, Fang Yuan had lived in Eastern Sea for a long time during the 500 years of his previous life. This way, Bai Qiantian instantly swam until he was on top of Fang Yuan. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1275, Kicking a Rank 8 Grade Expert. Chapter 1275, Kicking a Rank 8 Grade Expert. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Fang Yuan's grasp earlier had failed. He raised his arms and grabbed upwards. His left arm missed but his right arm grabbed onto Bai Qiantian's leg. Bai Qiantian was obstructed, his other leg kicked towards Fang Yuan's head like a fierce dragon. This blow was heavy. If it landed, Fang Yuan would become dizzy and Bai Qiantian would easily escape. But Fang Yuan took out Affection Immortal Gu and raised it up. Bai Qiantian wanted to curse, his legs stopped. Fang Yuan managed to obtain some time to react. He moved his head backwards as his entire body went upside down in the water. Originally, he was like Bai Qiantian, they were floating upright. But now that he grabbed Bai Qiantian's leg, he became upside down. Bai Qiantian saw this and his heart sank. He gasped in his mind. This was because Fang Yuan was grabbing onto his leg with one hand, while the other was holding Affection Immortal Gu. He could not attack with strength. But at this moment, in this scene, Fang Yuan had two legs to use. Meanwhile, Bai Qiantian's leg was held by Fang Yuan. He could only attack with one other leg. Bai Qiantian was shocked. The leg that was free moved around like a butterfly. It was extremely nimble. After kicking for several times, Fang Yuan could only see many shadows of his moving leg. But Fang Yuan had no fear. He kicked with both legs, as he unleashed a flurry of kicks moving like shadows as well. Both parties were fighting in the water, causing huge spirals to form around the river water. Each time their legs collided, a loud sound was emitted in the river water. Bai Qiantian could only use one leg. How could he compete with both of Fang Yuan's legs? During the process of fighting, he was often hit by Fang Yuan's legs. Bai Qiantian mainly defended himself, as he felt downcast. I am a great rank 8 Gu immortal, to think that this would happen. Scoundrel. As long as I get to the surface and recover my breath, I will deal with you. His arms flailed furiously, dragging Fang Yuan towards the surface as well. But at the next moment, Fang Yuan's eyes shined with brilliance, as he blocked Bai Qiantian's kick with one leg, while his other leg kicked at a crucial location. Ah! Bai Qiantian was kicked by Fang Yuan. It landed on his crotch. In an instant, his entire face stiffened. He stared with wide-opened eyes. He was about to gasp out his last bit of oxygen left. Bai Qiantian was a rank 8 great expert after all. He had superhuman endurance. He forcefully endured it and moved his arms, wanting to swim up to the surface. Boom! Fang Yuan kicked again. Bai Qiantian's body shook. This time, he could not help but breathe out a chain of bubbles. Boom boom boom. Sensing his huge weakness, Fang Yuan continued to kick. Bai Qiantian's face was flushed red, his eyes were bloodshot, he no longer thought of getting to the surface, he wanted to kill Fang Yuan. Who would fight you to the death? Fang Yuan let go, kicking Bai Qiantian away with another blow. At the same time, he was pushed away by the force, pulling some distance from Bai Qiantian. After getting free, Bai Qiantian was dazed for a while before giving up on Fang Yuan. He went to the surface to recover his breath. Fang Yuan turned around and escaped successfully from Bai Qiantian. Bai Qiantian's head came up to the surface as he breathed in deeply continuously. His crotch was hurting, waves of pain was assaulting his nerves, he felt himself getting dizzy. This accursed fellow. If I have a chance, I will tear out your tendons and burn you to ashes. Bai Qiantian watched at the river surface as Fang Yuan swam away rapidly, their distance was enlarging, he could not catch up. Fang Yuan successfully escaped from Bai Qiantian, he slowed down to recover his stamina. His legs were numb. Bai Qiantian's crotch was not easy to kick. Fang Yuan had immense strength, but his legs still felt numb from kicking it. Evidently, Bai Qiantian had thought of defending his crotch, there were many woodpath Dao marks there. At the final crucial moment, Fang Yuan did not fight with Bai Qiantian. He knew that with Bai Qiantian's methods, even if he killed him, he would have to face a terrifying retaliation and would likely get heavily injured or end up dead. Fang Yuan did not want this outcome. He did not need to fight to the death with a rank 8 Gu immortal. He had the sovereign immortal body, his future was bright. And his goal to begin with was Wuxia. If he died with Bai Qiantian, wouldn't Wuxia be laughing his head off? Even if only Bai Qiantian died, Fang Yuan would still be heavily injured, he would lose the ability to kill Wuxia. Of course, there was something crucial. Even if he killed Bai Qiantian, Fang Yuan could gain nothing. Immortal apertures could not be opened here, Bai Qiantian's corpse would be a burden. Fang Yuan could not carry this corpse around with him, even if he could, what if he met Wuxia? Even if he did not meet Wuxia, what would he do if he met Central Continent's Gu immortals? Rank 7 Gu immortal killing rank 8, this would be a grand feat that would grant him unparalleled honor and glory. But this honor was worthless to Fang Yuan. He continued to swim ahead, trying to find Wuxia. Fang Yuan, is that you? Wuxia heard this and turned around, expressing joy on his face. Come closer, I will pull you up. He quickly said. After a moment, Wuxia dragged Tai Bai Yunxing onto a huge lotus leaf. This is the leaf of the king lotus, it can float on the surface of the water, to think that you are so lucky. Tai Bai Yunxing sighed deeply. Wuxia laughed, thinking, I am luck connected to Fang Yuan, how can my luck be bad? But soon, his smile faded as worry appeared on his face again. He looked at the flowing river. Reverse flow river's state is really strange now, we cannot escape. We have to meet up with Purple Mountain True Monarch now, we might be able to take back Ma Hongyun and Zhao Yangyun, and even kill that ancient sword dragon that was chasing us. At the mention of Purple Mountain True Monarch, Tai Bai Yunxing showed admiration on his face, yes, we should meet up with Master. Achoo! Purple Mountain True Monarch sneezed loudly. He had a bitter expression, sighing, oh, to think that I would end up like this so soon after waking up. Sigh, I am old, my body is weak now, I seem to be getting a cold just because of some water. He was sitting on old ancestor Xuehu's shoulder. Old ancestor Xuehu was swimming, he looked around, trying to find something in reverse flow river. Hearing Purple Mountain True Monarch's words, he snorted, you are doing nothing but you are still complaining. Don't you have wings? Why don't you fly out of reverse flow river? Purple Mountain True Monarch was in his original form now. Like how Fang Yuan turned back to a human from ancient sword dragon form, Purple Mountain True Monarch was a rank 8 mini-man Gu immortal, he had turned large earlier using an immortal method. Now that he was in reverse flow river, he became a mini-man again. Precisely because of this, he could sit on old ancestor Xuehu's shoulder. You think I don't want to? But this reverse flow river is affected by some power, it is very chaotic, I cannot leave the river. He, who created this Gu formation for you? Purple Mountain True Monarch asked. Old Ancestor Shui, who had a grim expression, Sun Ming Lu. Purple Mountain True Monarch responded with an "Oh. It should be him. This was out of my expectations." Old Ancestor Shui, who said, "He is a member of Longevity Heaven." Old Ancestor Shui, who was astute, at this moment, it was not hard to guess where Sun Ming Lu came from. Because Central Continent's Gu immortals were already in danger, in the entirety of Northern Plains, who could have the ability and guts to deal with Old Ancestor Shui who? Other than Longevity Heaven, there was no one else. Purple Mountain True Monarch said, "Longevity Heaven is definitely after Ma Hongyun, as well as Zhao Lian Yun. They must be in front. I need to find my wife." Old Ancestor Shui, who said. Purple Mountain True Monarch patted his shoulder, "Then we need to go ahead." Lady Wanshou was right beside Ma Hongyun at the time, she was swept away by the river along with them, she should be near them. The fate-reversing refinement sub-formation was shining with a brilliant white-golden light. The light burst into the sky, like a huge unconcealable pillar. At this moment, Black Extremity was at the center of the Gu formation, manipulating it and directing the flow of reverse flow river. Flood Extremity was outside the Gu formation, preventing any intruders from approaching the pillar of light. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1276, Perseverance of the Miniman. Chapter 1276, Perseverance of the Miniman. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. So impressive, this Gu formation can actually control reverse flow river. Flood Extremity looked at the pillar of light and praised sincerely. But Black Extremity shook his head, "This is not control, I merely created the fate-reversing sacrificial refinement formation, it is like digging a river channel and letting reverse flow river move in it. We dug the river channel, thus, we can influence the direction that reverse flow river goes. When we retrieve reverse flow river, Longevity Heaven will gain another secluded domain of heaven and earth." Flood Extremity anticipated. Black Extremity instructed again, "When we collect reverse flow river, the sub-formation will be destroyed. You have to take note of the time and direction, opening your immortal aperture and letting the river flow in. You are a water path Gu immortal, you have a big advantage in doing this." Flood Extremity was troubled, what if reverse flow river changes direction? Are there really no Gu worms in this world that can control reverse flow river? Black Extremity frowned slightly, "Well no, there isn't, but maybe not necessarily, there might be another possibility." "What do you mean?" "You know the contents of the Legends of Ren Zhu. It stated that, Ren Zhu sighed, as long as he had that immortal Gu, he would conquer reverse flow river." "You mean immortal Gu, Perseverance?" "No way, Perseverance immortal Gu has never appeared before. In my opinion, that story is only telling us to persevere in cultivating and to never give up easily." The Legends of Ren Zhu, Chapter 4, Section 26. Ren Zhu's daughter, Boundless Forest Samsara, was trapped inside Ordinary Abyss. She made friends with a mini-man, the mini-man brought Boundless Forest Samsara to see his home, City Well. After Boundless Forest Samsara saw City Well, she raised her head at the sky. "I understand now." Boundless Forest Samsara looked above her. She was trapped inside Ordinary Abyss, she was just like the mini-men who were trapped under the well. The mini-men raised their heads and saw the sky within the well, it was like the sky that Boundless Forest Samsara saw when she looked up at Ordinary Abyss. "I have decided, I will work hard and get out of this abyss to meet with Father again." Boundless Forest Samsara raised her fists, making up her mind. The mini-man was overjoyed, "Sure. I want to leave Ordinary Abyss and see the world outside as well. I see that there are many trees here in Ordinary Abyss, we can chop them down and make a ladder to climb up." Boundless Forest Samsara gasped, looking at the mini-man, "Oh mini-man, don't you have wings? Why can't you fly out?" The mini-man smiled bitterly, "Oh human, I might have a pair of wings, but they are flimsy and weak. They can only carry me for a short distance. When I left City Well, I also used a ladder. So that's it. Boundless Forest Samsara realized. In the following days, she stayed with the mini-man, chopping trees and creating a ladder. Trees were chopped down one by one, Wisdom Gu flew out from them. Boundless Forest Samsara was shocked. Wisdom Gu, why are you here? Wisdom is hidden in the ordinary, of course I can be here. Wisdom Gu answered. Next, Wisdom Gu said, you are all very smart, you know how to use the achievements of predecessors to escape from being ordinary. But if you too want to leave ordinary abyss, you need to build your own ladders and complete them alone. Otherwise, you cannot leave. Boundless Forest Samsara quickly nodded, oh Wisdom Gu, thanks for reminding us, we will take note. She and the mini-man made their own ladders. The ladders became taller and taller, soon, Boundless Forest Samsara's ladder surpassed the mini-man. The mini-man's ladder was short and small, the distance between each step was also small. In comparison, Boundless Forest Samsara's ladder was long and tall. Boundless Forest Samsara teased the mini-man, Mini-man, oh mini-man, the ladder I make in half a day is as tall as the one you make in half a month. At this rate, when can you make a proper ladder to step on and escape from ordinary abyss? The mini-man was helpless, I can't help it, I am already doing my best, but this is all the wood I can carry after spending half a day, while you only need one hand to carry this over. I need to use a long time to chop down a small tree, but you only take 3 swings. I am already doing my best to reach this extent. Boundless Forest Samsara nodded, it is a pity we can only make our own ladders. The mini-man replied, that's right, to leave ordinary abyss, we can use our predecessors' achievements, but we truly need to rely on ourselves. Let's continue working hard. Boundless Forest Samsara and the mini-man continued to chop down trees to make their ladders. Trees fell one by one, from within, Strength Gu flew out. Boundless Forest Samsara was shocked, oh Strength Gu, why are you here? Strength is hidden in the ordinary, of course I can be here. Strength Gu answered. Boundless Forest Samsara thought about it and asked, oh Strength Gu, can you give us any advice? Like Wisdom Gu. Strength Gu said, I have no advice to give you, but I can grant you great strength, as long as you give me your youth. Boundless Forest Samsara fell into hesitation. Strength Gu said, according to your current strength, when will you be able to build a ladder tall enough to escape ordinary abyss? Boundless Forest Samsara thought, very long, I will need 20 to 30 years. Strength Gu said, yes, by then, you will no longer be young, you will lose your youth and become middle-aged, rather than that, you might as well give me your youth, even though you will become middle-aged, you only need a few years to build the ladder. Boundless Forest Samsara thought about it and nodded, you are absolutely right, Strength Gu, I will rely on you. Thus, Boundless Forest Samsara obtained Strength Gu, her speed in building the ladder became very fast, she could chop more trees at once. A year later, her ladder was extremely tall. She stood at the top of the ladder and looked down. She saw that the trees were very small, the grass was a field of green, she was very happy, so when I stand at a high point, things that are big usually will become small. It is just like city well. She looked down at the mini-man's ladder, it was very short, less than 1% of hers. She pouted. Boundless Forest Samsara walked down and said to the mini-man, why are you still so slow, my ladder is already so tall. The mini-man looked at her ladder in admiration, saying helplessly, I really admire you, your strength surpassed me to begin with, but now you also have Strength Gu, it is too bad that I have no help, I can only rely on myself. I have already tried my best, every day, other than eating and resting, I spend all my time building this ladder, but it cannot match yours. Boundless Forest Samsara nodded, that is natural. Another year passed. Boundless Forest Samsara continued to build the ladder even taller. She stood at the peak and looked down. The trees were like grass, while everything smaller than trees could not be seen clearly. She looked at the mini-man's ladder, even though it was taller than most trees, it was less than 1,000th of hers. Boundless Forest Samsara walked down the ladder, laughing at the mini-man, oh mini-man, stop wasting your efforts. Your strength is too low, you will not be able to build that ladder even if you spend an entire lifetime. You might as well use this time to enjoy your life. Actually, you are already very amazing, compared to those many men, you actually walked out of city well, you should just enjoy your life now. The mini-man thought about it and shook his head. I am not satisfied with being ordinary. When I am not happy with being ordinary would be like an abyss to me. I want to go out. Even if I cannot succeed, I want to try. If I do not try hard enough, I will not be happy. Thus, the mini-man continued building his ladder. The third year passed. Boundless Forest Samsara's ladder was extremely tall. She stood at the peak and looked down, only to see that clouds were blocking her vision. She wanted to look at the mini-man's ladder, but she could barely see it. It was less than 1/10,000th of her ladder. Boundless Forest Samsara sighed, she felt lonely. When the wind blew, she shuddered, feeling cold. So when I stand at this tall point, not only will I feel lonely, I will also feel cold. Boundless Forest Samsara walked down the ladder and told the mini-man about this. The mini-man shook his head, my ladder is not tall enough, I don't know how you feel. Boundless Forest Samsara felt bored. She continued to build the ladder, but the time she spent on it was decreasing. Strength Gu asked her, "Oh human, why are you not building your ladder?" Boundless Forest Samsara answered, "The ladder is too tall and cold, I need to rest and regain warmth." Another year passed. Boundless Forest Samsara felt extremely bored. She was still building her ladder, but she was spending less and less time on it. Strength Gu asked her, "Oh human, why are you not building your ladder?" Boundless Forest Samsara answered, "The ladder is too tall, when I look down, I get afraid. I need to rest and let my heart calm down." Another year passed. Boundless Forest Samsara became even more lazy. Strength Gu asked her, "Look at the mini-man, he has never stopped building his ladder, he is giving it his all. If you continue being lazy, he will surpass you one day." Boundless Forest Samsara laughed, "How can that be possible? One day of work for me is a month of his. How can he ever surpass me?" Like this, years passed without stopping. Finally, one day, the mini-man found Boundless Forest Samsara who was resting under a tree, saying to her, "Oh friend, my ladder is at the edge of ordinary abyss, tomorrow, I will step out and leave ordinary abyss." Boundless Forest Samsara laughed, "Oh mini-man, don't lie to me, this is too funny." The mini-man shook his head, saying seriously, "Grandness and being laughable is merely an inch apart. But I am not laughable anymore, I am grand and can finally leave this ordinary abyss. If you do not believe me, watch as I leave." Thus, the mini-man started to climb his ladder. Boundless Forest Samsara was shocked at this, the mini-man was really at the edge of the abyss, he could leave if he continued like this. Boundless Forest Samsara shouted, "Oh mini-man, do you not feel cold?" The mini-man said, "Of course, but I want to build my ladder and climb out of here." Boundless Forest Samsara shouted again, "Oh mini-man, do you not feel lonely?" The mini-man said, "Of course, but I want to build my ladder and climb out of here." Boundless Forest Samsara shouted again, "Oh mini-man, do you not feel afraid?" The mini-man said, "Of course, but I want to build my ladder and climb out of here." After saying those 3 lines, a bright light flashed on his body, rapidly forming into a goo worm. "My name is Perseverance, oh mini-man, thank you for giving me life." Perseverance Gu thanked the mini-man. The mini-man laughed, "Great, even though I do not have strength, I have perseverance." The mini-man said as he climbed out of ordinary abyss, stepping into the outside world. He first saw someone. It was Renzu. The rate of time inside ordinary abyss was different from the outside world. Renzu sighed as he saw the mini-man, "This is Perseverance Gu. What a pity, if I had it, I would have been able to conquer Reverse Flow River." If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1277, Meeting of Ma and Zhao. Chapter 1277, Meeting of Ma and Zhao. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Flood Extremity believed that Perseverance Gu was only a Gu worm found in the legends of Renzu. But Black Extremity shook his head, saying, Perseverance Immortal Gu is not a fictitious Gu worm. In fact, it has existed before. Flood Extremity was shocked. How did I not know that? This was something I had learned while traveling Northern Plains. The person who refined Perseverance Immortal Gu was the famous Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. He was the one who entered the door of life and death and brought Reverse Flow River out into the world. He was the first owner of Reverse Flow River. Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. Is that so? Then why is Reverse Flow River in the hands of old ancestor Xuehu? Flood Extremity asked. Black Extremity shook his head. I am unsure about the details regarding this. What is going on? At this moment, there was a loud sound. Inside the fate-reversing refinement sub-formation, some mortal Gu had exploded. The pillar of light that the sub-formation emitted also shrunk by 10%. This sudden change disrupted their conversation. Flood Extremity became nervous. A portion of the Gu formation was destroyed. Aren't you repairing it? Black Extremity shook his head. This situation is within my expectations. Even the fate-reversing refinement sub-formation cannot endure the might of Reverse Flow River. It will be destroyed. And this formation has a weakness. Once it activates, it cannot be repaired, unless the entire formation stops functioning. Flood Extremity frowned deeply. Reverse Flow River has not reached here yet. What do we do now? Black Extremity smiled. Don't worry, I created this formation. How could I not see this coming? In fact, there are benefits in destroying the Gu formation. Flood Extremity was confused. The Gu formation being destroyed has benefits? Every 10% of destruction would reduce our influence on Reverse Flow River by 10%. The back part of Reverse Flow River will return to normal and stop being drawn to us. That way, it will display its original might and wash out everyone and everything behind. Black Extremity explained. Incredible. Flood Extremity clapped and praised. His eyes were shining. Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun are all at the front. That means, they will be the last to be washed away. Black Extremity nodded. Precisely. Inside Reverse Flow River. Lord by Chen Tian. 3 Central Continent Gu Immortals greeted by Chen Tian. Bai Chen Tian nodded. At this moment, there were 5 people gathered around him. With the addition of these 3 and himself, there were 9 people. Did you see Ma Hongyun or Zhao Lianyun? The Gu Immortals shook their heads. Then did you see this person? Bai Chen Tian described Fang Yuan's appearance and clothing to them. The Central Continent Gu Immortals looked at each other. One of them said, I think I saw him, but I did not stop him. I was hiding behind a floating plank. He swam ahead without noticing me. Bai Chen Tian nodded. Lord, this person is not in our information. Is he an ally or foe? Someone asked. The Central Continent Gu Immortals were very perplexed. Because Bai Chen Tian was a Grand Rank 8 Gu Immortal, he would not ask for information about a Rank 7 Gu Immortal for no reason. Speaking of which, Fang Yuan's cultivation level was not outstanding. Most of the Central Continent Gu Immortals were Rank 7. But Bai Chen Tian's following words made all of their hearts shake. He is a strong foe. If you meet him, be very careful. I am merely on par with him in terms of physical brawling. The Central Continent Gu Immortals nodded solemnly. What do we do now? Someone asked. We have many people with us. We will swim up and get rid of our enemies along Reverse Flow River. That would be the best outcome. Bai Chen Tian said this as killing intent surged in him. This was a good tactic indeed. The Central Continent Gu Immortals were not the match of old ancestor Xuehu and Purple Mountain True Monarch if they fought normally. Right now, they had lost Edge Link Camp. They were completely outclassed. The sudden change with Reverse Flow River gave them a good chance. Bai Chen Tian felt that, as long as they could make use of this opportunity, they might be able to get rid of their enemies in Reverse Flow River and obtain victory. What is going on? At this moment, a certain water path Gu immortal among the central continent Gu immortals felt a change in the river water. Next, these central continent Gu immortals saw that the water of reverse flow river around them started to calm down rapidly from a turbulent state. Finally, the river flow slowed gradually, before starting to have small ripples. Large amounts of rocks and wild beast corpses, which were flowing along the river currents, were washed away rapidly. It was 5 times faster than the speed of flow earlier. How can this be? Some central continent Gu immortals were caught off guard and were washed away by the river. In the blink of an eye, they were 300 steps of distance away from Bai Chen Tian. Bai Chen Tian was the first to react. Quick, swim, do not stop for even a moment. Reverse flow river has returned to its usual state. If we stop for a moment, we will be washed away by the currents. He called out. Getting Bai Chen Tian's reminder, the remaining central continent Gu immortals reacted and tried to swim earnestly. It is so difficult. The water is flowing slowly and smoothly, but it is actually many times harder than the raging tides earlier. These floating logs and corpses are annoying, they are blocking our paths. The central continent Gu immortals quickly found that it was far more difficult to swim in this river that had returned to normal. What is this? The higher we swim up reverse flow river, the harder every step is. We need to persevere, we do not need to reach the upper part of the river. As long as we meet enemies, we can kill them. If we kill one rank 8 Gu immortal, we will be able to obtain victory later. Bai Chen Tian raised the morale. The central continent Gu immortals cheered in response. This way, reverse flow river is our opportunity. Lord Bai Chen Tian, look ahead, to the front, the river is extremely turbulent. Bai Chen Tian heard this and found something weird. He frowned. This was a nightmare. Swimming in this calm part of reverse flow river was much harder than swimming in the strong currents. At this rate, as time passes, when the central continent Gu immortals met the enemies that were washed down by reverse flow river, they would already be exhausted and out of stamina. Quick, we need to get in front and swim in the turbulent water. Bai Chen Tian had a grave expression, he gave the most accurate instructions. The central continent Gu immortals increased their speed in response. Fang Yuan swam in the river, he continued to pursuing Wu Xie, but he could not find any trace. The river water was turbulent, huge waves were created from time to time. From within these waves, wild beast corpses and countless rocks would flow along them. The situation in the river was very complex. And most importantly, the river was very wide. Fang Yuan could not get on high ground for observation, even though he had good eyesight, he could not see much. However, he had found many Gu immortals, among which, there were central continent Gu immortals and also snowy mountain blessed lands peak lords. Fang Yuan avoided them all, he did not deal with them. Fighting these people would waste his time and would not reap any benefits. This river is too wide, I might have passed Wu Xie earlier while I was diving, I might be in front of him. This is totally possible. But Fang Yuan did not give up. Because Wu Xie had a higher chance of being in front. He swam with all his strength, moving agilely in the complex water like a fish. The sovereign immortal body gave him incredible eyesight, stamina, and his recovery speed was on par with rank 8 Gu immortals, and most importantly, he had practiced his own incredible swimming ability. All these caused him to surpass many Gu immortals. In contrast, Bai Chen Tian had to keep searching in the river for the other central continent Gu immortals, he was at the very back. A leopard fox was swimming in the water, charging at Zhao Lianyun. The leopard fox was smaller than regular leopards, but it could swim, thus, even inside reverse flow river, it survived. Go away. Mu Linglan slapped as he killed the leopard fox which came. His other arm was grabbing onto Zhao Lianyun. Zhao Lianyun was a false immortal created with a phantom aperture, she had low foundation and barely any Dao marks. Without Gu worms, she was as weak as a mortal. Thankfully, while she was inside reverse flow river, the rank 7 water path Gu immortal Mu Linglan was around her. With Mu Linglan defending her, Zhao Lianyun managed to survive until now. Mu Linglan was covered in water path Dao marks, he could actually breathe freely in water, he could also swim well. Along the way, he protected Zhao Lianyun and resolved crises, while swimming ahead and bringing her along. Quickly look, there is a mound in front. Mu Linglan killed the leopard fox and suddenly said this with shining eyes, there was a mound floating ahead in the river. This mound is made of float soil, no wonder it can float on water and not sink. We will go rest there. Mu Linglan dragged Zhao Lianyun along and climbed onto the floating mound with much difficulty. Zhao Lianyun was extremely tired, she was barely alive. Once she got on shore, she laid down on the mound and stopped moving entirely as she rested. Mu Linglan was extremely tired, he was breathing roughly. Wait, there's someone on the mound. Mu Linglan suddenly stood up with a ruthless expression. Calm down, calm down. A figure had to walk out of the forest on the mound. Mu Linglan saw this person and became stunned. Zhao Lianyun was frozen like a statue. Because the one who appeared in front of them was Ma Hongyun. All of the immortals were in terrible conditions, but Ma Hongyun was wearing clean clothes as he chewed on a half-eaten fruit. You are Ma Hongyun. Mu Linglan shouted in surprise. Ma Hongyun took a step back, are you also here to capture me? Zhao Lianyun tried her best to get up, as she stood shakily. She looked at Ma Hongyun, her throat was moving but no voice came out. As the price for using Love Gu earlier, she had been using Gu worms to speak, but inside Reverse Flow River, no Gu worms could be used. At this moment, Zhao Lianyun finally saw the lover that she had been thinking of for so long. She was extremely agitated, she took a step forward. But at the next moment, she hesitated. How did she look like now? She was clear in her heart. She was no longer young, she was an elderly woman. Her hair was white, her face had deep wrinkles, and she was dry like a twig. In this appearance, could Ma Hongyun recognize her? Could she meet her lover in this appearance, could she bear to let him see her like this? Zhao Lianyun lost all of her courage. She lowered her head, she did not dare to look at Ma Hongyun's eyes. Zhao Lianyun was hesitant, but she suddenly heard Ma Hongyun call out, You are Lady Xiaoyun. Zhao Lianyun's body shook. She raised her head, only to see that Ma Hongyun had thrown away the fruit as he ran towards her. Lady Xiaoyun, Lady Xiaoyun. I miss you so much. Ma Hongyun shouted loudly. Mu Linglan saw this and felt a lot of emotions, he explained, Fairy Lianyun became like this because she rushed here from Central Continent to save you. Lady Xiaoyun. Ma Hongyun grabbed Zhao Lianyun's hands as he stood before her. He was also unable to speak, his words were choked in his throat. At this moment, Zhao Lianyun felt, this was truly immense bliss. All of her sacrifices were worth it. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1278, Dog Tail Life Extending Ferret. Chapter 1278, Dog Tail Life Extending Ferret. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Boom. A loud sound was heard in the fate-reversing refinement sub-formation. Flood Extremity was no longer surprised, after taking a glance, he looked away. During this period, the Gu formation's pillar of light had shrunken by 50%. This Gu formation is quite interesting. Right at this time, a voice entered Flood Extremity's ears. Who is it? Flood Extremity was shocked, his Gu immortal aura burst out as he prepared to use his powerful methods. Little one, don't be afraid, and don't make a move. The voice said again. At this moment, Flood Extremity could not move. He felt like he was in a frozen river. This person was powerful beyond imagination. He was a rank 7 Gu immortal, one of Longevity Heaven's 8 extremities, but he could not react before he was suppressed completely. You are the descendant of Master, as long as you do not attack me, I will not eat you. He. The voice said again. Next, Flood Extremity saw a huge, hill-like beast revealing its figure in front of him. This was a four-legged beast with purple fur. It looked like a ferret. It was covered in shiny purple fur, its eyes were shining with a purple crystal-like color. The most eye-catching thing was its tail. This was not a ferret tail, but a dog tail. A giant ferret with a dog tail. Flood Extremity was stunned, before he thought of an existence. Indeed, at the next moment, South Desolation Immortal's letter came from an information path Gu worm in his immortal aperture. He could not leave now. This giant beast was sent here to help. It would deal with any enemy who dares to obstruct longevity heaven. You are the dog tail life extending ferret? Ancestor giant sun steed? Flood Extremity stammered. The giant beast nodded before opening its mouth, speaking. Stop calling me a steed, I have my own name too. I am Mao Li Chiu, you can call me Grandpa Mao. Mao, Grandpa Mao. At the other end, Black Extremity was also tongue-tied, he was still in great shock. Okay, forget about this Gu formation. Let's go to Reverse Flow River and retrieve Ma Hong Yun and that love Gu. The dog tail life extending ferret, Mao Li Chiu, slashed with its claws. Intense winds blew, countless Gu worm auras were exposed, forming an immortal killer move. The fate-reversing refinement sub-formation that Black Extremity had created with much difficulty broke apart, turning into rubble. This? Black Extremity's eyes almost popped out. Stop stammering, is it very fun to disrupt my sleep? Quickly finish this business, your Grandpa Mao has to go back to sleep. The giant ferret, Mao Li Chiu, said this as it breathed out deeply. This breath flew rapidly, tying up Flood Extremity in Black Extremity. The giant ferret jumped and its huge body flew into the sky. Beside it, Black Extremity and Flood Extremity were pulled along by the special breath, going towards Reverse Flow River. What is going on? The sudden change in Reverse Flow River affected all of the Gu immortals in it. After an intense change, the entirety of Reverse Flow River calmed down, the river water became smooth flowing and had small ripples in it. Reverse Flow River went back to normal. Fong Yuan's eyes shone brightly, he felt the pressure intensifying in the river. There was a large amount of junk unable to move on their own, they were washed down by Reverse Flow River. Seeing this, at once, many Gu immortals chose to go downstream and leave Reverse Flow River by getting to the end. This was the only way to get out of Reverse Flow River. The situation is not looking good. Fong Yuan had not found Wu Xia and Gang, he continued moving forward. In the sky, Bai Chen Tian and the other central continent Gu immortals were looking down at Reverse Flow River. These people were originally trying to swim forward, but Reverse Flow River kept returning to normal as the sub-formation was destroyed. Bai Chen Tian saw that this was not going well, he could continue, but the other Gu immortals could not, they went downstream and left Reverse Flow River, flying towards the sky after they got out. But this way, they became outsiders, any methods used on Reverse Flow River would be reflected back at them. Bai Chen Tian soon found Fong Yuan, who was inside Reverse Flow River. Our fight can be disregarded, as long as you hand over affection Immortal Gu. Bai Chen Tian spoke to Fong Yuan. This is the rank 7 Gu immortal who could fight evenly with Lord Bai Chen Tian. How did he cultivate? The other central continent Gu immortals looked at Fong Yuan with shock and curiosity. Fong Yuan laughed coldly, he ignored Bai Chen Tian. One of the central continent Gu immortals flew into a rage, such audacity. You dare to disrespect Lord Bai Chen Tian. Bai Chen Tian snorted coldly, you think I can do nothing to you if you hide inside the river? Before I get washed away, you should worry about yourselves. This is not central continent. Fong Yuan replied fearlessly. Bai Chen Tian's key concern was pointed out, his face turned cold as he ignored Fong Yuan, he started to move in the upstream direction. Fong Yuan was a small matter. What was important was Zhao Lianyun and Ma Hongyun. Because the dog-tail life-extending ferret destroyed the sub-formation, the complex situation at the surface of the river became easily observable now. The junk was all swept away, only some Gu immortals were left in the river. Mu Ling Lan, Zhao Lian Yun, and Ma Hong Yun were at the front. The second group were Old Ancestor Shui Hu, Purple Mountain True Monarch, and Lady Wan Shou. The third group was Rank 8 Gu Immortal Wei Ling Yang, as well as some other Central Continent Gu Immortals. The fourth group was Ing Wu Xia and Gang, as well as some Snowy Mountain Peak Lords. And the fifth group was Fang Yuan alone. When he was swept into Reverse Flow River, he was too far from Snowy Mountain Blessed Land, thus, he had fallen to the back of the river. Even though he tried to swim upstream, the others were also working hard. Honestly speaking, the situation was quite interesting. Quick, swim forward. Mu Ling Lan looked at Old Ancestor Shui Hu and Purple Mountain True Monarch who were close behind. He spoke anxiously. The floating mound earlier was already swept away. Ma Hong Yun and Zhao Lian Yun had to swim forward to avoid getting captured by Old Ancestor Shui Hu. The second group of Old Ancestor Shui Hu and Purple Mountain True Monarch were chasing after Ma Hong Yun to capture him. The third group including Wei Ling Yang also did not want to give up. As long as they stalled Old Ancestor Shui Hu and Purple Mountain True Monarch, Ma Hong Yun and Zhao Lian Yun would have the chance to go downstream and the crisis would be resolved. Ing Wu Xia and the Snowy Mountain Demonic Path Gu Immortals also had the same idea as Wei Ling Yang. They were at the back but there was still hope. Quickly look, to the back. He Lu Lan suddenly alerted. Ing Wu Xia turned back and looked, his heart jumped. He actually chased us to this place. This river was calm now, there was no junk left, everyone's field of vision was clear, thus Ing Wu Xia easily saw Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan still did not know about Purple Mountain True Monarch. Even though he could see Old Ancestor Shui Hu at this position. Purple Mountain True Monarch was a mini-man. He was the size of a thumb and was sitting on Old Ancestor Shui Hu's shoulder. It was hard to see him clearly. Fang Yuan had no idea what happened in Snowy Mountain Blessed Land. Even though he met Bai Chen Tian, he had only understood that a battle of rank 8s happened here. As for who had the advantage, would Bai Chen Tian tell him? Thus, Fang Yuan had always thought that killing Ing Wu Xia and Gang would resolve his crisis regarding Shadow Sect. Therefore, after seeing Ing Wu Xia, his eyes shone as he swam even more quickly towards Ing Wu Xia. He is our enemy. A Snowy Mountain Peak Lord sneered at Fang Yuan. Let's work together and kill him. Outside, the situation is complex with countless Gu immortal methods available. But here, he is all alone, he is just one person. Once he said that, the Gu immortals were ready to attack. Ing Wu Xia was moved too. If they could kill Fang Yuan now, and obtain his sovereign immortal body, it would be a great opportunity. However, the sovereign immortal body is not easy to deal with. I should meet up with Lord Purple first. Our main body is still in the dream realm after all. Ing Wu Xia thought about it and decided to play safe. Come with us, we will meet up with Ancestor Shui Hu. He is not important, our biggest enemy is Central Continent. Ing Wu Xia did not expose Fang Yuan's foundation, he successfully diverted the attention of the Snowy Mountain Gu Immortals. That's right, let's meet with Old Ancestor. Snowy Mountain's Peak Lords could not go downstream now. Because a rank 8 Central Continent Gu Immortal was in the sky. Once they left Reverse Flow River, they would need to face off against a rank 8 Gu Immortal. They had to stay in Reverse Flow River for now. But soon, they realized that it was not easy to stay in Reverse Flow River. In this special environment, if they could not move forward, the river would push them backwards. In the past, Ren Zhu had failed in Reverse Flow River, he had failed at the final step before success. Nobody thought that they could achieve what Ren Zhu did. But in this situation, every wave of Gu Immortals had their own reasons to remain in Reverse Flow River. Ma Hong Yun, you cannot escape. Old Ancestor Shui Hu had a cold gaze as Lady Wan Shou smiled continuously. Quick, quick. They are catching up. Mu Ling Lan and Ma Hong Yun dragged Zhao Lian Yun along from either side. Fairy Lian Yun, hang on, we are going to reach soon. Wei Lingyang shouted. Xianxia was behind them, waiting to strike. He felt a headache regarding Fang Yuan at the back. He needed to move forward more quickly, to fight for more time later. Xianxia. Fang Yuan was shortening his distance with Xianxia. Soon, the first person to be unable to persevere appeared. It was one of Snowy Mountain's peak lords. He had used up all his stamina. He floated backwards with a pale expression. Fang Yuan avoided him. Now was not the time for that. If he stopped for a moment, he would be pushed backwards as well. Even if he killed the enemy, his progress would be greatly affected. Be careful. In the sky, Bai Chen Tian shouted. I finally caught up. You little rats. Old Ancestor Shui, who was already right behind Zhao Lianyun's group. Zhao Lianyun knew that she had no strength left. If this continued, she would only burden Ma Hongyun. She gave Ma Hongyun one last affectionate look. She suddenly mustered her strength and broke free from his grasp, swimming towards Old Ancestor Shui instead. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1279, Fervently Approaching Death. Chapter 1279, Fervently Approaching Death. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Mu Ling Lan. Behind Old Ancestor Shui, Wei Lingyang shouted angrily. Mu Ling Lan was already resolved. He gritted his teeth, moving even more quickly than Zhao Lianyun. He pushed the weak Zhao Lianyun into Ma Hongyun's arms. You have to live well. Saying this, he turned around and grabbed Old Ancestor Shui's waist. Old Ancestor Shui struggled intensely, but he still stopped moving forward and was pushed away by the river. The danger for Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun was averted. Quickly go. Ma Hongyun held on to Zhao Lianyun as his heart beat rapidly. Meddlesome fool. Old Ancestor Shui, who hated Mu Ling Lan to the core, he kicked Mu Ling Lan's chest several times in the water. His Dao marks far surpassed Mu Ling Lan's. Mu Ling Lan was rank 7, how could he possibly match him? Soon, his bones were broken, he was spitting out blood, dyeing the water red. More than 10 breaths of time later, Mu Ling Lan could not take it anymore. He stopped breathing as he lost his life. Seeing that their companion had died like this, the Central Continent Gu immortals were all anguished. Mu Ling Lan, Central Continent will remember your sacrifice, Heavenly Court will remember it. Wei Lingyang called out, charging at Old Ancestor Shui. Old Ancestor Shui was stalled by Mu Ling Lan. He had fallen behind to the third group. He was immediately attacked by the furious and upset Central Continent Gu immortals. Shui. Lady Wan Shou was worried about her husband. She quickly went to help him. Both sides fought for a while. They were pushed backwards and quickly encountered Xianxia and the others, who were the fourth group. As a result, a large number of Gu immortals were fighting in this river. It was a chaotic scene. Bai Chen Tian and the rest were watching in shock. Grand Gu immortals had lost their sagely demeanor. They were fighting in the water like brutish mortals. But it was too late for Bai Chen Tian to interfere now. Soon, blood dyed the surroundings as many Gu immortal corpses flowed down the river. Xianxia. Fang Yuan joined the group. He had finally arrived. Where is our lord? Xianxia finally found Old Ancestor Shui amidst the chaos. He asked this loudly. Upstream. Old Ancestor Shui answered. It turned out that while Old Ancestor Shui and Mu Ling Lan were fighting, Purple Mountain True Monarch had swam upstream to capture Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun. Precisely because of this, Old Ancestor Shui could fight with the Central Continent Gu immortals. This was his plan to obstruct the enemies. Xianxia got his answer and quickly swam with He Lulan and the rest, away from the fighting as he went towards Purple Mountain True Monarch. Fang Yuan called out, Xianxia, where are you going? Xianxia sighed, saying, Tai Bai Yunsheng. All of you leave first. Tai Bai Yunsheng shouted. He charged at Fang Yuan with a resolute expression of someone disregarding death. Fong Yuan was obstructed. Ing Wu Xie, He Lu Lan, and Bai Ning Bing managed to escape. Bam bam bam. Fong Yuan's attacks were powerful. Tai Bai Yunxing soon had broken bones and fractures. But Tai Bai Yunxing was resolved. He stalled Fong Yuan and grabbed onto him. He even used his teeth to bite and head to slam. Fong Yuan could not break free for a period of time. In this urgent situation, he exclaimed, "Old Bai, do you still remember Imperial Court Blessed Land?" Tai Bai Yunxing was stunned. He exposed a flaw. Fong Yuan's eyes shined with a ruthless light. His fingers pierced into Tai Bai Yunxing's eyes without mercy. Tai Bai Yunxing was heavily injured. Blood was pouring out of his eyes. Fong Yuan used this chance to unleash the finishing blow as Tai Bai Yunxing stopped moving entirely. He was dead. Humph. Fong Yuan shrugged off Tai Bai Yunxing's corpse as he continued to swim, chasing after Ing Wu Xie. During this period, the groups with Old Ancestor Xuehu and Wei Lingyang were engaged in fierce battle. They had finally separated as both sides suffered great losses. Bai Chen Tian looked at Reverse Flow River from above. He could see the situation clearly. Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun were still at the lead. Purple Mountain True Monarch was at the second position. Ing Wu Xie and the other two were the third. Fong Yuan was fourth. Old Ancestor Xuehu and Lady Wan Shou were the fifth. Wei Lingyang and the other Central Continent Gu Immortals were sixth. Bai Chen Tian was anxious. The Central Continent Immortals were in an extremely disadvantageous position. Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun were in front, but there was no longer anyone protecting them. The second-placed Purple Mountain True Monarch was an enemy, while Ing Wu Xie and Gang were vicious members of Shadow Sect. The fifth-placed Old Ancestor Xuehu and Lady Wan Shou were also out of the question. Without any choice, Bai Chen Tian could only approach Fong Yuan. "You just need to protect the lives of those two in front. You will obtain the friendship of Central Continent and Heavenly Court. You can request anything. Do you want immortal Gu or cultivation resources? Will my great Central Continent not be able to satisfy you? As long as you help to protect Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun." This again. Fong Yuan heard this and sighed internally. He thought of Imperial Court Blessed Land. Back then, he had to make a choice too. If he chose to save Ma Hongyun, it would have been extremely profitable for him. And now, the situation was quite similar to back then in Imperial Court Blessed Land. But Fong Yuan remained silent. He only continued swimming. He was bent on eliminating Ing Wu Xie and Gang now. Forget about Ma Hongyun, he could bugger off. But what followed was a long stalemate. The further one traveled up Reverse Flow River, the harder it was to keep going. Stamina and Dao marks were secondary. It was a test of one's will. "Lady Xiao Yun, we need to persevere. I believe that there will be a chance." Ma Hongyun continued to speak, encouraging Zhao Lianyun. The river water was icy cold, but inside Ma Hongyun's embrace, Zhao Lianyun felt immeasurable warmth. This warmth was a huge driving force for her. She gritted her teeth and persevered on. Behind them was Purple Mountain True Monarch. Ma Hongyun. Zhao Lianyun. He. As long as I catch you, I will be able to restrain Old Ancestor Xuehu. At that point, I will get him to deal with Southern Border's Super Dream Realm. Purple Mountain True Monarch was planning deeply. Protect Lord Purple. Ing Wu Xie was worried. Dear, wake up. Something happened to Old Ancestor Xuehu's group. Lady Wan Shou had fainted. She was heavily injured in the battle. After enduring and persisting for a while, she fainted. Old Ancestor Xuehu was flustered. He gritted his teeth and stopped swimming. He carried Lady Wan Shou as Reverse Flow River swept them away. Wei Lingyang allowed him to leave. They wanted to have one less competitor. Old Ancestor Xuehu quickly left Reverse Flow River. He used his Gu Immortal methods to stabilize Lady Wan Shou's condition. Bai Chen Tian was nervous. He could not deal with Old Ancestor Xuehu alone. The Gu Immortals around him, without any immortal Gu houses, could not interfere in a rank 8 fight. "I will kill you first." Old Ancestor Xuehu carefully placed the unconscious Lady Wan Shou in his immortal aperture. Next, he charged at Bai Chen Tian. He was the #1 person in Northern Plains' demonic path. He was a ruthless person. How could he give up this chance to deal with these weakened opponents? It's only death at worst. Bai Chen Tian was resolved to die. He neither evaded nor dodged. But right when the two rank 8s were about to fight, they felt an intensely strong aura. The hill-like dog-tailed purple ferret carried Flood Extremity and Black Extremity, as they arrived at the bank of Reverse Flow River. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1280, Perseverance. Chapter 1280, Perseverance. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Outside Reverse Flow River. Old Ancestor Shui who wanted to kill Bai Chen Tian, but at this moment, the dog-tail life-extending ferret, Mao Li Chiu, appeared. Why is this ferret here? Doesn't it stay inside its cave all the time? Old Ancestor Shui who was surprised. This ferret had a huge origin. It was Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's steed. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable had subdued it in his later years. His motive was clearly to find a lifespan extension method. The dog-tail life-extending ferret's Dao marks were very numerous and mystical. As it grew older, the dog-tail would shrink as its lifespan decreased. When its lifespan nears its end, the tail would vanish. Thus, whenever it sensed that its life was ending, it would devour an immemorial desolate beast dog. After consuming it, the dog-tail life-extending ferret would gain the lifespan of this immemorial desolate beast dog, its tail would grow out and it would continue living. Precisely so, even after Giant Sun Immortal Venerable died, the dog-tail life-extending ferret still lived until now. This giant ferret was enlightened by Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. It gained intelligence and learned to use Gu worms and even immortal killer moves. It was an immemorial desolate beast to begin with. Now that it had wisdom and could use immortal Gu and other methods, it had unfathomably deep strength. Even Old Ancestor Shui who was wary of it. Old Ancestor Shui who had wanted to deal with Bai Chen Tian, but with the dog-tail life-extending ferret's appearance, he discarded this plan. To think that Mao Li Chiu would save me. Bai Chen Tian let out a breath of air. He relaxed slightly. He also knew about the dog-tail life-extending ferret. Immemorial desolate beasts of this level were too famous. It was like Central Continent's Wukong, or that evil dragon Di Zongsheng. They were unique existences. Their battle strength was at the peak of rank 8. Old Ancestor Shui who quickly focused his gaze on the two longevity Heaven Gu immortals accompanying the dog-tail life-extending ferret. Old Ancestor Shui whose gaze focused on Black Extremity. He chuckled coldly. As expected, Sun Ming Lu, you are a member of Longevity Heaven. To think that Longevity Heaven had targeted me since so long ago. He had already made a guess earlier. Now that he saw Black Extremity, it was confirmed. Black Extremity greeted Old Ancestor Shui who respectfully. Old Ancestor Shui who, we meet again. I am one of Longevity Heaven's 8 extremities. Black Extremity. Sun Ming Lu is simply a name I use when I travel in Northern Plains. Old Ancestor Shui who chuckled coldly again, but he did not attack. Because Black Extremity was beside the dog-tail life-extending ferret. It was not like Old Ancestor Shui who feared Mao Li Chiu, but he knew that the crux of this issue was not the three of them, it was the events in Reverse Flow River. With the situation in Reverse Flow River unconfirmed, it was not time to fight. A third party would benefit if he did. After Black Extremity and Old Ancestor Shui who exchanged greetings, their gazes became fixed on Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun. Grandpa Mao, the two at the front are our targets. Black Extremity reminded the dog-tail life-extending ferret. Bai Chen Tian frowned slightly. Old Ancestor Shui whose cold laughter became even colder. But Mao Li Chiu nonchalantly curled its lips. Its beast face made a very human-like expression. No rush. Wait for them to decide a victor. We are outside Reverse Flow River. We can use Gu worms but we cannot affect the river itself. Any method used on Reverse Flow River will be reflected back upon us. Why would I waste my effort? Reverse Flow River would only lose some water when it reflects an attack. This river is huge. How long would it take to dry out this river? I would not do something so time-consuming and pointless. Saying this, it paused before saying, "Don't worry, these people can't continue for long. The further they swim, the more it tests their will. They are swimming in reverse flow river, any thoughts of persevering in this river would be reversed by the river, any sort of determination would waver, they would eventually be washed away by the river." The three rank 8 existences were wary of each other, they did not fight. Outside the river, there was a deadlock, the Gu immortals thus looked towards reverse flow river. Inside the river, Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun were still at the lead. Purple Mountain True Monarch was second, he was inching closer to them. Ingwu Xie, Bai Ningbing, and He Lu Lan were third. Next was Fang Yuan. The fifth position was originally Old Ancestor Xuehu and Lady Wan Shou, but earlier, Old Ancestor Xuehu had given up the contest for the sake of his unconscious wife, he went outside the river. Thus, the fifth position went to Heavenly Court's rank 8 Rule Path Gu Immortal Wei Ling Yang, and several Central Continent Gu Immortals. Purple Mountain True Monarch moved with all four limbs, flapping his thin wings at times. Ma and Zhao were already close by. I need to persevere and capture these two, I will be able to control Old Ancestor Xuehu and deal with Central Continent. Purple Mountain True Monarch was filled with determination. Reverse Flow River's water continued to assault the will in his mind. He shrugged his head, trying to get rid of his hesitation. 90,000 years ago, heavens will attacked. I deduced with all my effort and found a trace of hope for survival. By sealing myself, I turned into a purple gold rock. But to think that heavens would still harm me and I would go into a crazy state at times. These last 100,000 years, I woke up many times and experienced great danger, I only escaped from danger and survived with Shadow Sect's help. Right now, my main body refines sovereign immortal aperture, but it was stolen from us. My main body is stuck in the dream realm, being in great danger. The Great Shadow Sect is just a shadow of its past, I cannot fail in this situation, I need to persevere, I need to capture Zhao and Ma. I am about to succeed. Purple Mountain True Monarch's eyes were shining, he was extremely close to the two. Oh no, Purple Mountain True Monarch is about to reach Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun. The Central Continent Gu Immortals were shocked. Old Ancestor Xuehu and Ingwu Xie had expressions filled with joy. What do we do? Flood Extremity shouted. Nothing. Mao Li Chiu rolled its eyes, unless they come out. Ah! But at this moment, Purple Mountain True Monarch suddenly grabbed his head as he screamed, he struggled intensely as he showed intense pain on his face. What is going on? What happened? The immortals were perplexed. At this very moment, damn it! Ingwu Xie internally cursed heaven's will. At the crucial moment, Purple Mountain True Monarch fell into madness, he went downstream with the currents. Thankfully, Ingwu Xie and gang were following Purple Mountain True Monarch as insurance if he went crazy, he quickly grabbed Purple Mountain True Monarch as the four swam upstream together. Thus, Ma and Zhao escaped from the dangerous situation, they were still in first place. Purple Mountain True Monarch had fallen behind, becoming second place with Ingwu Xie and gang. Third was Fang Yuan. And fourth was Wei Ling Yang and his Central Continent Gu Immortals. Lord Wei Ling Yang, it all depends on you now. Bai Chen Tian was overjoyed. The Central Continent Gu Immortals also started cheering. It was good news to Central Continent that something happened to Purple Mountain True Monarch. Especially those Gu Immortals who did not know Fang Yuan, they felt that right now, only Central Continent's rank 8 Wei Ling Yang was left, even though he was in last place, he could still win. Wei Ling Yang was gritting his teeth. The difficulty of swimming was rising, and more importantly, the reverse flow river was affecting his every thought. Any thoughts of persevering and swimming ahead would be obstructed by reverse flow river. Many thoughts were washed away, but there was one thought that was rooted in Wei Ling Yang's mind. I need to persevere. I am the only hope left in Central Continent, if we capture Ma Hongyun and save Zhao Lianyun, we will be able to return victorious. I cannot fail. Central Continent's pride, Heavenly Court's honor, they cannot be lost because of me. Wei Ling Yang swam ahead stably without any hesitation. The Gu immortals around him also followed. These Gu immortals formed the biggest force in Reverse Flow River. It was eye-catching. Even the dog-tail life-extending ferret, Mao Li Chiu, said, "Oh. It seems that Central Continent has a huge advantage. Humph, Heavenly Court still likes meddling so much, this will not do." Ma Hongyun is a northern plainsman. Bai Chen Tian frowned. He looked at Mao Li Chiu, an old ancestor Shui whose face was cold as ice. He was worried. Even if Wei Ling Yang defeats the competitors and obtains Ma and Zhao, what will happen after he leaves Reverse Flow River? Bai Chen Tian thought from all angles. He could not find a way to escape. He could only continue watching. Time passed by the seconds and minutes. The situation was still the same in Reverse Flow River. Ma and Zhao were first. Yingwu Xia and Gang were second. Fang Yuan was third. And Wei Ling Yang and the other Central Continent Gu immortals were fourth. The positions did not change, but their mutual distances had evidently shrunk. Oh. These people have all lasted until now. Strange, why are there so many outstanding people here? The dog-tail life-extending ferret, Mao Li Chiu, quipped, as expected, the great era is coming. In an era which would create a great number of geniuses and talented individuals would emerge like a tide. Bai Chen Tian's eyes were shining too. He was assessing the Central Continent Gu immortals, and memorizing their faces. These people had firm determination. If they grew without any accidents, they surely would be important pillars of each sect. Persevere. The mission of protecting Fairy Lian Yun is in my hands. I cannot give up. Bu Zhenzi frowned. Just like refining Gu, no matter how tough it is, or how unpredictable the results, as long as I persevere, I will be rewarded. Yu Yi encouraged himself. Shi Zhengyi had an angry expression. Lord Mu Ling Lan was sacrificed to protect Fairy Lian Yun. How can I back down? Work harder. Shi Zhengyi. For the sake of love and justice, you cannot back down. Fang Yuan was expressionless. He stared ahead at Yingwu Xia. Such a close relationship. That rank 8 mini-man Gu immortal who went crazy must be a member of Shadow Sect. I must kill him. I must eliminate them all. Inside Reverse Flow River, it is the best opportunity for me to eliminate these threats once and for all. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.